Hi everybody, Brent Schlenker. This month, July, for Learning Now TV, I'm in Tombstone, Arizona. There's also a gunfight going on right over there, so it might get loud. And walking around the city a little bit with my daughter, we begin to make connections with learning and what it must have been like to live back in the 1800s. Today in our industry, we talk a lot about working out loud, social learning, and well, experiential learning was just a given for the folks of the Old West. They didn't just talk about it, they had to live it. And here we are inside one of the mines that made Tombstone famous. You might think that the gunfight at the OK Corral was what really made Tombstone famous, but really the mining here is what made the town. The gunfight really just have made it infamous. With names like Wyatt Earp, you can't help but think about storytelling as a learning tool. It was obvious all day long. But after a few conversations with the locals, we began to uncover connections to other learning topics.
But this is the way the original miners would spend hours at a time underground, drilling exactly like that. It's work, I'm here to tell you. Okay, that's called single jacking. That's one miner working alone. Double jacking was two miners working together. You have one guy with an 8-pound sledgehammer wailing away for all he's worth, while his partner would be twisting the drill steel for him. How do you like that? Takes a lot of trust and confidence in your buddy's abilities, to say the least, but these guys are pretty good at what they did. They'd switch back and forth and take turns, weren't quite so many broken heads as you think. Single jacking, you can drill.
And of course, my daughter was quick to point out that that is teamwork and therefore collaborative learning. But I couldn't help but wonder, how did they learn how to do it? Who first came up with this particular method? So of course, being the good learning professional, I had to ask.
2 years ago in Cornwall, England, somebody came up with that. Before the Cornish miners came up with hand drills, the only way to blast rock would be to shove gunpowder into a crack and make some kind of a makeshift fuse and hope that worked. Well, once they invented hand drilling, that made mining a lot more efficient.
And so there you have it. This modern day miner offers up some performance improvement kudos to the early 18th century miners of Cornwall, England. So what's the big takeaway? Actually, quite a few. It was a wonderful day, first of all, to hang out with my daughter and talk learning and see what it was like back in the 1800s to live in a small mining town in southern Arizona. So here's a couple takeaways for you. The first one is this: learning a skill was a necessity. If you needed to learn how to shoot a gun, you learned at a very young age. If you needed to be really, really good at shooting a gun, you practiced and repetition. And of course, we all know that that's how you get good and fast at anything. The guy playing Doc Holliday here had a great tip and mentioned that you either learned how to shoot a gun or you didn't, and you were either better than the other guy or you were dead. Another piece that was really interesting to me was the fact that when we were touring the mine, our tour guide, I remember, was telling us a lot of really great stuff, a lot of great facts, a lot of really fun, interesting information. Well, at least I remember it seeming to be pretty cool, fun, and interesting at the time. But for the life of me, I can't remember hardly any of the details at all. So today it's wonderful to be able to go hit Wikipedia and look some things up if you become interested at all. But I think the real purpose for me was that experience. Even if I didn't retain immediately the information that was delivered to me, that experience was still very palpable, still very real and very tangible. Adding all of the bits and pieces of understanding could actually come later, and I don't think that's such a bad thing. And this particular experience is actually a great example for something I've been talking about for a long time. I've referred to it as the 7 levels of corporate training. I've also talked about it in the framework of iterative training development. But what I've talked about extends from this exact type of experience. It's obviously not created by an instructional designer, but yet when I was going through it, it was very obvious that it was scripted by somebody who was very, very knowledgeable about this particular mine. This was the Tough Nut mine, the mine that was originally the founding piece of Tombstone, Arizona. And as corporate training professionals, this is often where we find ourselves, right? We are given a subject matter expert that has a lot of information, or we're given a PowerPoint presentation or a video, or we are asked to sit through a classroom with a subject matter expert delivering a lot of information, and we're asked to put our instructional design magic to it and make it better. And there's really so much more I could talk to you about, but I'm out of time. So connect with me outside at brent@litmus.com or on Twitter at bschlenker. I hope you enjoyed your time here in Tombstone, Arizona with me, talking a little bit about storytelling and seeing a little bit of the Old West. Back to you guys in the studio.
Very much.
Got a nice little shooting gallery here.
We're definitely going to do that, yeah.
15 shots.